And hello, dear guests, and welcome to Atwix Talks number 5. During this event, we will chat about the value of educational processes and courses. And today, our guest would be amazing, talented, and a media superstar in the Magento world, Max Pronko. So I would like to introduce our speakers. My name is Bogdan. I'm the marketing manager for Atwix. This is Alexander Shkurko, tech advisor at Atwix, and our today's speaker, Max Pronko, the Magento mentor, CEO, and founder of Pronko Consulting. And to talk about what's coming up in a few minutes, I'm giving the mic to Alexander Shkurko.
Hello, everyone. Thank you for joining the Atwix Talks. And before we start, I want to say thank you, Max, just for joining this event, because without any doubts, you are a legend. Just believe me, you are a legend, because you are the first who just started the process of knowledge sharing through the YouTube, through blog posts. And, just your manner, how you deliver the value and quality of knowledge sharing is amazing, because you always try to find something new, how to bring the knowledge to the audience, and it's really amazing. And you've been doing this for years, maybe just for 10 years, if I'm not mistaken. And I'm really pleased to have a chance to talk with you during our conversation. Max, I just want to save time and to allow you to tell the story about you, about yourself, about the idea of knowledge sharing. So just let's start. And what do you want to tell to the audience at the just like maybe a welcome message?
Hi, Alex. Hi, Bogdan. Thank you for kind words, and thank you for having me on this Atwix talk. It's really pleasure speaking with you today, and I will be more than happy to share some of my bits in my life, in my professional career experience, what I gained, how I learned something about Magento, and how I do some knowledge sharing over the last few years. So my story is, I was thinking how I would like to start like sharing my story and what is my motivation on doing knowledge sharing or creating content that help developers to learn like PHP or Magento. And I found out that it's due to my fear of losing myself somewhere like in the middle of nowhere. So it started in 2015 when I received an offer by one of the merchant companies in Ireland. So initially I was working in Magento for 5 years, and my offer was about moving to another country. And I thought that if I will move to another country, I don't want to lose this thing that, or my years of experience I've gained over the course of working with Magento. So I decided to start blogging. I didn't have prior experience writing some content, especially like English content, because my native language is Ukrainian, and I didn't know how to start, how to write anything like technical. But obviously, if you work with Magento and when you write code that is based on English or using English words, and you read the presentation, read articles, and share, like having all these calls with project managers and all this kind of stuff, I thought that it would be a good idea to start sharing my experience over blog. So my first thought would be to, before I will leave the country and move to my new role, I would create a blog and then I will create some posts. So initially I wrote 2 blog posts. Actually, it was 1 blog post, but I found out it's super huge, and like it was about refactoring in Magento.
Wow.
in Magento.
Second version of Magento, yes, Magento 2.
Yeah. I thought that in 2015, and it was alpha or beta Magento 2. In 2015, it wouldn't be a good idea to start documenting something about Magento 1 if there is zero information about Magento 2. And Magento 2, like over the last 3 years, I was purely focused and working with Magento 2 as well as my team. So I thought that I would start writing about Magento 2.
Sorry, you mean, sorry, Max, your team in Ireland, yes? So you started working with a new...
Before I moved to Ireland, I was having a team like of developers, and we were working on Magento 2, one of the areas in Magento 2.
Oh, great.
Or Magento 2, like, platform.
In Kyiv, right?
Yes. In Kyiv.
Great, thank you.
We were having like 2 teams. I was having like a sales team. I mean, a team purely focused on sales functionality.
Orders, invoices.
Yeah, orders, invoices, credit memos, all this kind of documents that were generated after placing an order. Because there was a team who was responsible for checkout. So if you would be blaming someone, it's not about me.
Okay.
But still, like we were working on sales functionality. It's one team, and the second team was about JavaScript. Initially in Magento, there was no like JavaScript developers. Before the team that at that time was hired for JavaScript work. That's where we found that Knockout, Angular at that time, JavaScript libraries and frameworks that were used at that time, at the first version 2.0 release of Magento. Yeah, so blog. Everything started with the blog, and with my fear of not sharing experience and moving to the country without, I didn't want to get lost in the world of basically having no voice within Magento community. And before moving, it was 2015, and in 2013, 14, up to 15, for the 3 years, in 2013, I met Magento community. It was some hackathon in Germany in 2013. It was my first time I met Magento community. And I didn't want to basically get lost in my new job. That's why I decided to start sharing my experience. But it was just the beginning. Of course, when I started writing some posts, in the parallel, I was doing some Magento development work, and I was trying to combine me writing some features plus documenting my journey and sharing experience on how to work with Magento 2. There were plenty of topics. Magento 2 was not documented at all. Documentation appeared a few years after, as far as I remember. But
sorry to interrupt, but yeah, I want to emphasize that you're totally right, because Magento 2 didn't have full coverage of documentation. And your blog posts of Alan Stone, they appeared at the same time, and you start to sharing knowledge between the community. And it was like a lighthouse for every developer in the internet, because you have only Stack Overflow and blog posts from Alan Stone and Max Pronko, and it's great. And then you should remember the time when Magento announced that contribution to the documentation, and it was a boom. When everyone in the world starts contributing to the documentation. And yeah, it's like a proof to your words. Great, thank you, Maxim. Please proceed.
Yeah, I remember when the documentation project started as an open source, I did contribute few pull requests into documentation, but it was slightly confusing for me because I am a PHP developer, and documentation project was based on some JavaScript-ish library or framework. It was kind of, even setting up that documentation project was challenging, but still I remember I did a few contributions. So blog, yeah, so as I said, that there were no documentation and there was only Stack Overflow. I remember I was contributing to Stack Overflow, answering questions. Funny enough, I never ask a single question on Stack Overflow. So it's kind of a unique knowledge or news about myself. I always wanted to share experience. Not like I didn't want to learn something, but my probably path of learning is slightly different from other developers. Well, everyone's path is unique, if to be honest with you. But yeah, Stack Overflow, and it was a year before I thought about starting a YouTube channel. But I was super afraid, like being on a camera, sharing experience. I didn't know how to start, what is the best way to start, whether I need camera and what camera I have to have, what I'm going to talk about. And if I will start, what would be like my message and what topic I have to choose. Obviously, I wanted to start a Magento 2 YouTube channel, but I didn't know how to do this. So I did continue doing some content, but written content. And I found out that not only being a developer, I can get some extra cash, but also writing blog posts, I can earn money. So it was a surprise for me that I'm a developer and I can write something, not code related, and get some additional cash. So yeah, it was experience for me, because at that time I thought that my 1 hour of work equals development work equals $1. Not like $1, but whatever amount of time you put, you can get paid. But I found out that I can reverse engineer it and get additional money without like spending this amount of time.
Yeah, but it's really. Sorry to interrupt you. Please proceed.
But I thought it's not enough for me to just write posts, because at that time, I remember Magento hired, I don't remember like exact years, but it was something like 2016. There were like 2 community managers, Ben Marks and Sherry Moore. And Sherry Moore started this weekly digest of Magento content pieces or links. And I saw that there are plenty of companies, agencies write about Magento 2. It's interesting that there are lots of agencies are talking about Magento 2, but not official channel that was Magento at the time in terms of
no podcasts, no just YouTube channels, just only some blog posts and really technology dedicated focus of the bloggers and YouTubers at that time. So everyone wants to share how to create a controller, how to create a resource model, and so on. But I remember that you were the first one in the, let's call it, Ukrainian community who started talking about not only technology, but also about the business and how to how to solve the problem. It's very valuable because, it's good when you know how to write a code, but it's also beneficial when you know how to solve the problem by writing this code. And I remember your just like your speeches, your talks during the variety of events, MageConf, some Meet Magento Kiev, and another one. So, and you always try to focus on something solid. So not only about how to write a controller, but why we need to write this controller. And it's also great because you, after watching your courses and reading your articles, you have a consistent understanding of what you do and why you do this stuff. Maxim, I have a question about the blog, and when you decide when you decide to invest more time into writing blog posts and creating a video, what was your motivation? Because I know that you work, that you just like a workaholic. Pardon if I was thinking you're a hard worker, and how you combine your time and writing blog posts and creating YouTube channels?
At the time when I started writing blog posts, I was doing some merchant-related development activities, and I couldn't just simply write or build some personal projects. And I thought that it would be a good idea to share or create small pieces of micro products that is a blog post in a way of sharing content. So let's say I was building a feature on a merchant site, and I was trying to abstract this feature, however, have this context of a problem that I can solve with my blog post, with my content piece that I create. But yeah, so creating features, documenting this feature, not like documenting, but sharing the experience on how to solve a particular problem. I was not kind of a guy who will be writing or sharing information about something like, let's say, how to create a controller. We are talking about past, but we can talk about 2022. I always wanted to solve a problem. I couldn't share, not like my experience, but I'm not that type of person who does some theoretical stuff, like hundreds of words on like motivation on something. I like practical things, like, and practical pieces, so I can touch it. I mean, whether it's a YouTube video or an online course or blog post or a product.
Great, thank you. I think that we covered the first part of our agenda, and we now know that it was start like a pet project, and you decided that you want to share this experience. You do not want to lose the connection with the Magento community, and this also motivates you. So it's great, and you are a brave person, because start writing the first word in your blog post or in your article, it's very difficult. Believe me, I know what I'm talking about, because I wrote about maybe 10 articles, and I know how it's difficult to start, because you're just afraid of doing the first step into the blogging and into writing. But you wrote a lot of articles, and you complete a lot of videos. It's really great, and I just appreciate your effort in the Magento community. We have a question in our chat. I will ask you it, and then we will return to our agenda. So it's a question: do you teach your team internally? If I'm not mistaken, your current team in Pronko Consulting.
Yeah, so obviously a first step for, let's say, a person to join our team is to bring something on our shared table. And this something could be knowledge and or experience working with Magento 2. We work in such a niche that as of now, Pronko Consulting would not allow hiring 20 intern developers in order to, like intern developers, internship. To educate them from the very basics, like a person who doesn't know about like PHP. But once a person is onboarded, once a person goes through probation period, for this person we open a portal, Mage Mastery portal, for them to get more knowledge and experience about writing Magento 2 code in a better way.
Wow.
At the same time, we have some sort of mentoring sessions where in most cases I'm involved, but sometimes our team lead is involved, where we show what could be improved in the person's source code or how it can be improved in a better way. And these discussions are built in a way that not like I will give the correct answer for the problem, but I will try to find right questions in order for this person to to think about the problem and find solutions. And if I will see that there is some kind of understanding, I build these follow-up questions for this person to understand in which direction to go.
It's really great, just because you recently mentioned that you just do not grant access to the courses you created. You're granting access to your mentoring, your supervising, and you not just left people with your YouTube videos, but you teach them. It's really great. And I think that it's answer on the second part of the question. If yes, please share topics area which you're learning, technologies, tools, Magento features, and other things. So Alex, who asked this question, I think you got the answer. So Max covers all stack of technology and tools and features that currently exist in Magento, and shared this knowledge with the employees after the probation period. And from my point of view, it's balanced solution, because you check the knowledge, the level of knowledge expertise of person during the probation period, and if everything is fine, you just like grant access to your videos. It's really beneficial from my point of view. And let's just return to our agenda. And the next topic sounds like the value of courses and the education process. I want to just like guide our discussion. And my question is, Maxim, from your point of view, why it's important to attend courses and buy some education courses or education programs? Because in nowadays you can just Google, for example, why discount was not applied on my order or something like this, and you will get tons of answers. And in most cases you can solve the problem with a Google. Yes, but anyway, why it's important to attend courses?
I think we have to start from motivation. What motivates a person to learn something? Again, it depends. If a person would like to, whether to structure knowledge or to learn some topic without living like 5 to 10 years and trying to find or trying to gather all the information from Google and from Stack Overflow, and with the experience of building and trying and failing all the possible solutions and answers in Google, and the person wants to learn something faster than just Googling a simple answer, then it makes sense to think about online courses. But the problem with online courses, they're like pros and cons. Problem I see is it could be quality of courses, because an online course could be built in a way that it just, you watch, let's say it's a video course, right? You watch 30 videos, 50 videos, and you try to follow, if it's about some programming, I don't know, topic. Let's call it Magento 2 online course, and you follow this online course from lesson 1 to lesson 50. You maybe implement like exactly the same functionality as per online course, but by the end of the online course, you have absolutely no clue where to go next, how to build your own solution, and whether you learn something. So it's a problem of, like, I wouldn't say 90% of online courses, but some of the percentage of online courses. From other side, if online course is built in the way that it teaches you something, it can provide a proper structure, it can cover a topic that you, instead of spending, I don't know, like a year or 2 years trying yourself and learn and structureize some knowledge, you can have a shortcut and basically find this online course, whether it's free or paid, and get this knowledge about a topic. You might get some experience from attending online course, but not always. In most cases, whether it's online course with homeworks, with quizzes, with some additional activities that will help to enable to turn on your brain for you to think about a problem which you just watched the answer about. Because without these additional activities, there is no way to remember everything. Like if you will watch online course or 50 videos, you will remember probably from 10 to 25% of content that you've watched. But if you want to get like 50 to 70%, you have to do it yourself, you have to do homework, and you have to think. And again, there might be good free online courses or bad paid online courses, but at the same time, it depends on an author or a teacher and complexity of the course. For example, Udemy as one of the sources I was considering putting my online courses. I thought that for me, it's not a good idea to put Magento 2 courses to Udemy because Udemy is not focused on web, is not focused on e-commerce, and is not focused on Magento. That's why I decided to build my own platform. But at the same time, there could be some good online courses, and if you would think about selecting something on Udemy, you can try and read reviews. Sometimes reviews are providing some valuable information about the course because author can write anything to sell an online course, but probably most importantly, at least in my experience, what if I try to find an online course, I read comments, reviews, and if I have some not like personal connection to the author, but if this author, I found online course by this author and I watched lots of free content, whether it's YouTube or something, I have more trust to this author, and I would, if it's paid course, I would pay this, I don't know, $100 or something to get this summarized version of a topic that I can learn quicker than I would go and learn myself.
Got it. And I just have a really important question. How to keep courses up to date? Because, you know, just in Magento 2.3, we had one scope of the code base, yes, and in 2.4, we just get a lot of backwards and compatible changes, and it requires just to update videos. I know that, for example, some fundamentals, they that do not require changes in the content. But for example, if you're talking about the controllers, about some things like API notation and so on, you have to update your video. And I know that you are owner and creator of, let's call it founder of a lot of videos in your academy. And is it difficult just to maintain this amount of content?
It depends how you create this content. I remember when I started, I was having a good competitor. When I started building paid online courses, I was having a competitor, and his name is Vinay Kop. It's not like direct competitor. We're not competitors. We're friends, and we communicate, like whether it's online or offline. Recently, we've had a conversation about Magento open source and its direction. But when I was starting Mage Mastery to create my portal for online courses, there was already a website called Mage2TV. And it was like subscription-based access where you can pay on monthly basis and you can get access to videos created by Vinay Kop. The problem, what I've seen, and it's just an example, I'm not saying that it's right or wrong, that let's say Vinay Kop tries to cover, let's say, creation of database table. 25 different videos on how to create database.
Yes.
Like different settings, different options, different scenarios and cases that would help you to be an expert in creating database tables in Magento. With Magento 2.3, declarative schema appeared to be as a new feature of creating tables and updating database schema. And basically what it means for Mage 2 TV is that all these 25 videos have to be recreated from scratch, or additional 25 or whatever amount of videos have to be created on top of existing videos in order to cover the topic that is basically evolution from PHP-based table creation to XML declarative-based. But I thought this as a problem. That's why one of the things I thought it would be a good idea is to focus on basics. It doesn't matter whether it's Magento 2.0, 1.9, 2.4, but observer, plugin, controller, and other interesting topics or extension mechanisms or basics will work if you understand the idea, the concept.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
I don't try to focus on a syntax problem, like when a syntax change or when an API change. I understand that it could change, and I understand that something can be outdated. But by the end of the day, if you understand what is observer design pattern, it doesn't matter how it's implemented in Magento or Laravel or Symfony. You just know that it's observer, and there are some listeners, some event dispatchers, and so on.
Yeah, great. And it's also very important thing that all developers and all your course attenders, and not your course, but also just like any course attenders should understand that you need to learn how to use the approach, for example, observer or plugin, and what does it mean? And then you will be able to use it in a variety of platforms, variety of situations, and do the right thing. Not just copy-paste the code from courses, but copy-paste the understanding of the pattern. And we have a question from Bogdan.
Yes, sir. So it's a question and maybe a thought, because I mostly consume courses, so I'm basically on the other side of things, and few insights got me while when the COVID started. I started to actively learn courses because a lot of courses they became much more available, and some of them became free. And after consuming like a bunch of them, the one insight got to me that when for example, when you have like 10 blog posts and you have a course that is done by the professional you respect and like keen to learn from, this is like accelerated learning. So you're getting faster to your target. And the other thing with consultants, so you can spend like hours, tens of hours, like beating through that bug or issue, but you can get on a call with a consultant and he's like, yeah, you should just do that. And it works like in most cases it works like magic when the problem seems complex, but when you approach like a real professional, the problem becomes like in a thin air. So I really, really, really share, Max, your thought that courses can get you to your target faster. And if the motivation is to grow as a professional faster, then courses is one of the best ways to do that. And if you can get a mentor in addition to courses, and I know that you're mentoring some people probably. That could get you even faster because you not only have the the course that you can attend, like, and do the accelerated learning, but you have a buddy who can review your code, who can answer your questions the day you have it. So yeah, this is just my and this is not this is replicable not only to Magento but to pretty much every course. So yeah, this is just the thing that I wanted to add here.
Yeah, I also saw that, for example, if let's talk online course, and let's say it is a paid online course. If you will put 10 blog posts and make it like 10 lessons, and you have to pay for these 10 lessons that in written format, I think there would be less chance that you will learn more than you will be watching videos, because it appeared that video format is better for new knowledge, or if you want to learn something new, like video that is supported by audio. Because by the end of the day, why all this kind of audio format is like when you have Amazon Kindle, as far as I remember, right? How it's called. And you can read all books, but not read, but listen. Because people are in some way or another, like, or all programmers are lazy. And they try to automate things. Same with education. People are just lazy reading, right? Because there might be lots of books that will give you this knowledge. It's faster to, again, if it's kind of consolidated source of knowledge that is wrapped in in an online course, or it's a book, but we're talking about online courses, then you can get this experience, get this knowledge faster than just reading.
Thank you. And Max, we have a list of questions, and the first one, from my point of view, it's very, it correlates with our today's discussion. Max, Max, you mentioned recently in Twitter that you are back to run. Is there any dependency on how many kilometers you run with how many topics posts you will share with the community?
Dependency.
Yeah, dependency between the amount of kilometers you run every day and the amount of blog posts and new videos you will deliver to the community.
More I will run. Well, it depends. More I will run, I would be more tired, and I can create less. But at the same time, more I will run, I will have more energy if it's like early morning run. More energy to create some material, posts, videos, and stuff.
Yeah, it's like work-life balance.
Because it's interesting that when I run, I think about, let's say, my last video I created on YouTube. I was thinking, I created video footage. I edited this footage, but I didn't know how to call this video. And it's a problem. I have to do it in a different way. I have to have ideas and topics, then thumbnail, and then video. I did it like from making video first. And while running, I have this like fresh mind that I can think about something. And this something, or this time frame, like running time frame, allows me to think and generate ideas. And whether it's about new topics of the videos, whether it's online courses, or some problem I want to solve, that it really helps me. So to answer a question, I think there is some correlation, but I have to find out what would be.
Let's check. And from my point of view, you will deliver more. Your delivery will be improved and increased, because just running and any kinds of activity that switch you from a daily routine, it's like refreshing, rebooting your mind, your thoughts, and maybe with this you will find new ideas, because you have a style, and this style is just to try every time something new in order to improve the quality of the product. I mean, the product is the way how you share knowledge, and it's really beneficial because it's interesting, it's fun, and for example, the several latest videos from you, they're cool because they're short, fun, and they focus on solid picture. It's really, really beneficial. And we have another question. Hey, Max, we're a team of developers from India currently getting started with Magento. And we want to ask you if you can do a workshop for us and guide us on the past and future of a Magento. And before you will answer, we can just your answer can be an answer not only on this question, but the question of our agenda. And the next question sounds like Max's vision of the modern e-commerce. So please answer how you can help a team from India with your knowledge sharing, and what's your vision of their future e-commerce?
It's funny enough that 60% of my audience is India. So it's kind of my target audience in terms of Magento 2 knowledge sharing. So what is my vision of the modern e-commerce?
Modern e-commerce, yeah. And as I understood, guys, just who asked this question, you can join Max directly through Twitter, LinkedIn, or maybe through the Max Pronko Consulting, and you will get all required answers, knowledge, and it's just Max always open for a connection. So yeah, use the social media to contact him. And Max, what's your vision of the future e-commerce?
With this changing situation starting from 2020, right? When COVID started, that e-commerce market growth is exponential. I don't have like figures, or I wouldn't say like trillions of dollars are going to be invested in the next 5 years, but what I see is that that e-commerce is a big thing for the next 5 to 10 to 15 years. What it means is that all these solutions, whether it's SaaS, PaaS, or not offline, but platforms that make a fast entering to a market, to online market of a business. Let's say there is a retail business, offline business, and this business would like to go to online and sell their products, like something like luxury furniture. And that time to market from this business being like offline retail somewhere in Dublin area and being a global business that can deliver this luxury furniture worldwide in a matter of 24 hours, if we're talking about international delivery, it would probably be a big thing for this niche. So basically, as we can, of course, talk about technical, non-technical stuff, but as non-technical for business owners, e-commerce is going to be a huge thing. It's already proven that for the last two years, it's growing and it will not stop. An interesting news I heard yesterday or the day before that, let's say Oracle Commerce is going to shut down hundreds of businesses or thousands of businesses. It's a very interesting move because now, as someone tweeted, that there would be lots of Magento work and Magento businesses that will be onboarded with Magento platform. So it's a very interesting move. And at the same time, we have this magic quadrant where Slava Kravchuk posted in Twitter, showing top e-commerce platforms where we see Magento as one of the top platforms, and this platform is in a top for the last 5 to 7 years. I don't remember exactly, but even with the huge plans of Adobe to move Magento platform to be Adobe platform or Adobe Commerce and move it to the more SaaS niche and more enterprise sector, it still like gives us, if we're talking about developers, gives us developers to have a huge opportunity in terms of growing professionally, having enough resources, whether it's cash, teams, company expansions, in order to achieve business goals. And the interesting thing about storefront, right? For the last few years in Magento ecosystem, there were lots of some of the discussions about monolithic Magento versus microservices versus API mesh that was recently announced, and storefronts as a technology that allows to deliver online presence faster. So what we have here, we have PWA, we have native Luma Blank themes, we have Hiva, and we have recently Vue Storefront announced that they have official Magento 2 support.
Yeah, you're right.
Content. It's interesting that a few years ago, in 2019, I thought that I would jump into the storefront. I will start learning Vue because myself as a PHP developer, I was worried that Magento is now PHP, but tomorrow it's going to be JavaScript, Vue, or React, and I have to immediately jump because I'm a full stack developer, and as a full stack developer, I have to learn everything, including all latest trends. But it appears that it's not true, and I still have lots of work as a PHP backend developer because Magento is built by PHP developers and it's still PHP platform. Also, that's PWA thing that Adobe is building.
Yeah,
PWA,
right.
PWA is good in terms of speed, like, I don't know, like experience, right? As something that evolves nowadays. But at the same time, how did it happen that one or two guys from Netherlands created Hiva and they built a simplest, fastest solution on the entire Magento market that Adobe with its hundreds of developers didn't make?
Yeah, sorry, Max, to interrupt you, but like it's a magic because during your speech you answered two questions from the chat. You mentioned that we will have a lot of work in the scope of the Magento and PHP, and I will also add that yes, Magento can be a tool for product-based companies. And recently, you have answered on a question. Hi, Max. Hiva can be a game changer for open source Magento platform. And yeah, you answered that yeah, Hiva is some kind of a game changer. Am I correct?
Yes, I'm surprised that someone came up with this idea of building something simple, so I don't need to learn React or all this JavaScript magic. I do love JavaScript. My Mage Mastery portal is based on React, and I put huge part of building, like writing React code. It's nice, but when it comes to open source Magento projects, PWA Studio is overkill for open source. And I cannot imagine some small agency having like backend team, front-end team, tight budget, and tight deadline in order to deliver online store.
Great. And let's just move forward because you covered the theme of our topic just from start to the end. And the next one, we want to know what should the Magento 2 developer learn and how to learn. I mean, that what the developer that used the Magento to the main platform and technology should learn in 2022 and in the nearest future? PHP, Postgres, React, TypeScript. What do you think about this?
My answer is short, but we can extend it. It depends. Because let's say I'm an expert Magento developer, 8 to 10 years of experience, but I have no idea what is Xdebug. Xdebug that allows to understand how Magento works and how to debug considerably complex issues within Magento platform. It's super hard, and I understand that people spend days in order to debug something complex. Let's say like shopping cart or checkout or sales or some asynchronous operations. It's impossible to just use vardump or printf or printar in order to do something. So it's like from one side. So again, as I said, it depends. From other side, it depends what you would like to be. I mean, professionally, whether you would like to be front end or back end. But with this Luma and blank themes or out-of-box theming Magento 2, I don't think that there is a single front-end developer who woke up someday and said that I would like to be front-end Magento 2 developer. I don't believe in such thing. But unless there are lots of there is a high salary and that person would like to just do something that is not interesting for this person, but get high salary. Yes, I can understand. But the motivation like of getting paid like higher salary will be destroyed by this fact that you do some boring stuff on daily basis. From 9 to 6, you do something like horrible. Then you have to consider switching to something else. And since this something else, I don't think that it will be PWA Studio. Because again, if you have experience extending PWA Studio and you know all this magic that should happen in order to add customization into not like PWA Studio, but Venia as a theme, but that is based on PWA Studio. You could find out that you also don't write React-based code or JavaScript-based code, so it's kind of hard. You definitely will move out from Magento altogether, like as a niche. So you have to decide whether you would like to be sort of front-end or back-end. And again, if we're talking about back-end development and paths for learning, I heard lots of rumors that, like this rumor PHP is dead for last 20 years or something. Then Magento is dead for also like last 7 years when Magento 2 was released. And no one wants to go, if you are a senior PHP developer, you shouldn't go to Magento 2 and build some implementations because Magento 2 is outdated as a platform. It also rumor, again, it's probably... these rumors are invented by those guys who are sitting in Symfony, Laravel, and never touched Magento. Yes. In Magento, there are lots of interesting things and features you can learn and become professional senior engineer, not like a Magento developer. Because my understanding of this term Magento developer could be not like but what I see like on the market, that a Magento developer could be a WordPress developer who knows how to install extensions on Magento 2. So it's a Magento developer. Or you could be a senior PHP developer, but senior PHP developer, like as a job title, applies some skills and knowledge that you have to have. And if you would ask me what a senior PHP developer would learn, not like senior, but in order for you being a PHP developer to move towards senior, being a more senior than you are currently now, because all these job titles are coupled to a company where this title is invented. because I remember I was having a title MTS1. I don't remember how it's called, but I was like senior plus PHP developer or something in Magento. But this MTS1 doesn't mean anything like for Atwix, for Pronko Consulting, for other companies. Maybe for Adobe, they can convert this MTS1, MTS2 to some kind of roles and job positions, and it can match job salary. But basically, it's the way how I see these job titles.
Max, and if you allow me, just wanted to compliment on your thoughts about the versatility of learning new things in tech. So you just said that the Magento developer could become a WordPress developer who should be able to install plugins and customize them. And for me, being a non-technical person, we have this thing in marketing called pattern recognition. And I think that then in tech, if you understand the syntaxes, if you understand the environment, if you understand the logic, and if you understand the overall like platform documentation and stuff, and maybe you have a course or a mentor or a consultant, that is the same pattern recognition. And if you for example, if you know PHP and you want to just learn a new language, and you learn the PHP with courses and with a mentor, this is the same path, and you already made it. So it's much easier to go on another path if you already made this one. So this is just to complement your idea that learning curve is easier if you had it before. But if you're doing it for the first time, it would be harder, but it's going to be easier every time you do it after.
Yeah, you see, if you are an expert in some niche, let's say you're a great tennis player, you could be a good basketball player. Not like a great basketball player, but still you could be a good basketball player just because you have this day-to-day routine of practicing you being a professional tennis player. Same with programming. If you are a senior software engineer, it doesn't matter what language you use. There are differences in languages. There are some conceptual differences in languages. But by the end of the day, you are a software engineer or you are a software architect who builds software. Yeah, so what was the question?
It was rather not a question, but a complementary idea to your thought, because it's once again I'm on the other side. I'm the one consuming courses, and I just think that this is learning is a muscle, and the more repetitions you have, the easier it gets. And if you develop a habit of learning from somebody or from something, that becomes much easier, and when it's a habit, it's a habit. Yeah,
I agree that it's a great idea and addition to our conversation, because if we try to rephrase everything and simplify, we can say that your courses and courses of other people, it's in your league, they deliver to audience the ability to understand things inside out and be not only Magento tool developer, but be a developer or find a way how to be a software engineer. Because it's a real big difference between being a Magento developer and software engineer. And in your courses and your YouTube channel, I see information about the Magento and about the pure PHP. And your Friday session, I will see a new episode soon when you sit down and write pure PHP, because they are brilliant, because it's a good thing. For example, for me, it was a really very beneficial and valuable experience, because writing things on pure PHP is sometimes a bit difficult twice, even for great software engineers, Magento developers, because we work with the Magento, with the framework, with the syntax sugar and other stuff. But when you try to write and create something using the pure language, you refresh your knowledge, you just you switch your mind and change the angle of vision. It's really great, Max. So please proceed with this series of videos. And before we will continue with our one of the most interesting question about the learning, I want to ask you one question from our audience. It sounds like this. If anyone today making a decision to take up Magento and PHP, will he be restricted to service-based companies, or Magento can help you land job in product-based companies? If I understand this question correctly, it sounds like, does Magento limit you with work on agencies, or you can find just a position in some product companies?
My answer, absolutely not. Magento as a platform, as a framework, does not limit you to be working only with agencies and tied to agencies. With Magento, you can find different companies, different roles, different positions. Again, it depends on your level of experience. If you are just starting, it might be a slightly different situation, because, again, you have to see open positions in product companies or in agencies or in all outsource offshore staff companies that work with Magento, because there are different types of different companies, different models that they somehow appear to work with Magento too. Yeah, so this short answer to question. More longer one, in terms of product and Magento, I have a few friends I used to work with back in Magento that they, I wouldn't say reverse engineer at Magento, but when you work with Magento as a framework and you would like to apply this framework techniques and the way like that mind that was put and thousands of hours by other developers and engineers into Magento framework, you would think, how would you build something similar? Or you would think how you can apply Magento framework in different niche, not in e-commerce. So one of my friends, he built a portal for, so it's a medicine or something, for dental company for scheduling appointments and managing clinic within Magento backend. It was an interesting project. He showed me a demo a while ago. But at the time, I realized that not only e-commerce and not only catalog and products and shopping cart and checkout can be used within Magento platform, but you can just use it in whatever way you would like to. But there's some other things you, of course, have to consider, like changing something within Magento platform, so this platform will be not only e-commerce, but CRM or ERP system. That's
yeah. And it's a good point, because when you can reuse the platform and use it as a framework, you became a master. And it's a rare expression from the community people. I mean that you named Magento framework, and it's totally true. And I agree with you on 100%, because it's a e-commerce framework. You can take, you can use Magento, disable, for example, 50% of models and use the list of models that you really need for your business needs. And it's killing feature of Magento from my point of view, because it helps you to turn off a half of modules and still have a reusable, nice platform with a lot of features out from the box. Okay, so now the main question of this session, which is very important, the scope of learning. Previously, you've answered on what should junior, middle, senior engineers learn, because you provide just like a great overview of how to learn and what you need to learn. So we can just skip this, but we are not allowed to avoid talking about the next question. So the value of certification. Why and when it's time to prepare for it and pass? You know that certification, it's a very debatable topic in the e-commerce world, and especially in the Magento. When we're talking about, for example, PHP then certification, it's pretty simple. Just, yes, you know the basic of language, programming language. When we're talking about, for example, the AWS certification, we're talking about the way how you manage servers, and this certification mirroring your knowledge of the AWS components and how they work, and this tells to your business partners that you can solve some tasks. For example, build a new container, use some monitoring tools and so on. But in the Magento world, it's very tricky. You can be certified developer and know the best practices of Magento, but you are not able to solve the complex feature because you are not a good engineer, software engineer. Yes, and vice versa. You can have zero certification, but be I don't know, just be a God mode developer and create everything. So here we want to know your thoughts. Because you had been working for years with the courses, with videos, you prepared a course for preparation for certification, and I think you're an expert here. So please share your knowledge with us.
Importance of certification within Magento. The answer is, again, it depends. Depends whether you need the certification. I remember myself when that Magento 2 certification was launched. I mean, its exam was launched, and at that time I was in my life. I don't know, like what I was doing, and my way of thinking was that. I would like to prove myself that I can pass certification. That will not bring me any extra cash or salary. That will not bring me anything except the fact that I'm capable to pass the exam. I would like to be, let's say, in area where I consider myself as a person who knows something, an expert. So my motivation is different. It was different at the time I was passing the certification. Certification as a thing or exam, Magento exam, as you said, is debatable in Magento community because in most certification, so certification in Magento 1 and partially in Magento 2. I'm not sure about whether it was updated to 2.4 version, but up to 2.3 version. As far as I remember, I don't want to blame anyone, but certification was based on memorizing source code and lines of code within Magento 1 and Magento 2 platforms and modules that you have to remember. And in order to remember, you have to work with Magento in order to pass exam. That was Magento 1, and Magento 2 is slightly changed. So you have to have some practical experience, and it doesn't equal that you have to remember 829th line where order status, pending payment, constant is used in order to pass exam, right? It was changed. It became more practical for agencies, for merchants to assess a developer or a professional, that this professional have practical experience customizing Magento platform or building Magento 2 solutions. A motivation could be different, whether it's increase in salary, whether it's proving yourself that you are capable of having this certification, or there are a few members of Magento communities showing that they have all certifications within Magento area and they know something. But again, as you said, that certification does not mean that you know Magento, and there are lots of professionals who have no certifications. That they're just Magento experts. I also was thinking up until the moment when I thought that I have to prove myself that I can pass certification. I also was not in a position to pass exam because there was no point passing for me an exam. It just doesn't prove anything for me. But what I found out, let's say you are working in agency that is Adobe partner. And there are different levels of partnership where you as an agency, as a company, or as a partner should have a certain amount of professionally certified Magento developers in order to go to the next level. Then it appears that certification is needed. Yes. And by the end of the day, what I found out that even myself, when I hire people, for the last few CVs I check certification. I was never considering myself as the one who will be checking certifications, but it appeared that one of the points in CV, when I open a candidate, I see that if this guy is certified, then it means that at least he tried to pass exam at least once, and he spent some time learning this material, and he understands the difference between plugin and observer. It doesn't mean that he knows how to use it, but at least he understands what is plugin and what is observer. Just an example. That he invested in himself in order to pass the certification. Then yes, I would be more than happy to speak with this candidate. So there are lots of kind of benefits, but at the same time, if it's certification provided by Adobe for proving that you are an expert can mean nothing in other, I would say, areas where it's just not needed.
Yeah, it's just like really specific area of usage of this certification. But I completely agree with your idea that when you see that the person, the candidate, and I don't know, even just engineer on LinkedIn has some certifications from in the Adobe Commerce Magento open source area, it means that he tried. And yeah, the fact of trying to do something is the most beneficial here, because you know, there are a lot of stories about how to pass certification and how those certification can be achieved. Yeah, we will not talk about this, but it's really easy to check the level of knowledge of the person with the similar question from this certification. And it's very funny when someone answers, oh, I know this is from the certification. And let's talk about this. Okay, Max, thank you so much for your answers. And for me, it was a really warm and cool discussion about the e-commerce Magento knowledge courses and certifications. And I wrote down some thoughts that came to my mind during our conversation, because you, from my understanding and from my point of view, you see the picture of e-commerce and Magento really in a complex way. So you do not focus on the technology, you do not focus on the business, you do not focus on something really specific. You focus on everything and you cover the whole picture of how and why we should work with the Magento. From my point of view, it's really great attitude to profession and to what you deliver to the community. Because if you're just concentrate on a, for example, specific class or pattern, you do not cover the main question why you should use this pattern and how this pattern can be used in a real life. So this is why I can consider you and your the value you deliver to the community is a great one. And I want to say thank you for being a knowledge contributor and knowledge sharing. With this, I want to know that we ran off time. We covered everything during our conversation, and it was really nice. But we still have 15 minutes, maybe for extra 15 minutes for our conversation. And everyone in the chat, in our audience, maybe you have some questions to us, and we will happy to answer. Maybe, Max, you have some questions to the audience.
We actually have a question that wasn't answered. So Rajat is asking, I guess, everyone, as a beginner, how should a person start learning Magento 2? Any guidance? And another person upvoted this question and insisted us answering it because it's this gentleman said that it is important for beginners. Please answer this question.
Really great question. Magento 2 can be divided by, let's divide it by 3 parts. Backend, and backend can be divided by like database and understanding on how to write on PHP. And this PHP can be divided again by 2 areas, like when you know object-oriented programming and you apply it into your PHP. And without this knowledge, it would be very hard for you to build something. Some knowledge of Magento framework specifics, like there is entity attribute value. What is entity attribute value? Or there is resource model and collection. What is this? It could be like 15 minutes discussion or 15 minutes topic observation, whether it's few YouTube videos or part of online course. But there are some things you have to apply on top of your understanding and usage of PHP object-oriented programming in order to write something. And there is this front-end part. Front-end part can also be split by few areas. Basic part is just to, if you have Magento 2 open source, is to use and understand how to, unfortunately, how to use outdated front-end technologies. But if you are coming from WordPress, for example, because majority of PHP developers know WordPress, so you have to know like what is jQuery. And fortunately for you, you can jump immediately and build something if you know jQuery. But jQuery is considered as outdated library. You have to learn something new. But if you want to jump to Magento 2, jQuery is a good start. Knockout.js, Require.js, this kind of libraries are knowledge of these libraries and how to use are required for you to build a scene. If you want to go deeper, you can move to the direction of Hiva, which is my recommendation, because I'm not promoting Hiva. I'm just a user who found that Hiva is the most straightforward next step in storefront development or implementation. Or you can be more kind of front-end React-based developer. But again, if you are a backend PHP developer, going into React and PWA Studio and Venia, it would be complicated for you. You can go to PWA, that is Vue or React. Better to go to React because majority of agencies, official Adobe partners, they are using PWA Studio. Where to find this knowledge? Usually it would be hard to find, let's say, a dedicated website that is blog that covers from top to bottom. You can find like topics, but it would be harder. The second step, if I would be searching for information, I would be searching in YouTube. But again, on YouTube, same like as in websites, blog posts. There could be some videos that recommend you some bad practices. But the thing is, of course, I'm not the fan of bad practices, but at least you can start from something. That common thing, don't edit the core or don't use object manager. But first of all, you have to find out what is object manager, where to use it, how to use it in a way that is not allowed, and then finding out that it's not allowed and use it in, or don't use it in Magento 2. But all these 5 topics have to be covered by you in like using your practice or spending time writing code, not just by looking into YouTube videos. And third way on how you can learn Magento is attending online courses, whether you would like to go to Udemy or to magemastery.net or M Academy, where you can have a structured way, lesson by lesson, instructor-led online courses and learn a specific topic or topics that will give you a great introduction into Magento 2. And then you can go to more like individual topics, like how to customize checkout, how to build a payment method, how to build a shipping method, not only installing a third-party extension, but building your own payment method. And then after 2 years, you can be a better developer, Magento 2 developer, than you are currently now with your understanding and desire of learning something. I hope I answered the question.
I think you covered everything with this one. You not only you provided not only the answer, but you also recently created the roadmap for the beginners, and it's also very like helpful for anyone who starts the journey into the Magento world, because you mentioned that you will fail somehow, but this failure is not a bad thing. It's just like your push action to the right attitude and right solution. Okay, great. So there are, and in chat we see that. Thank you for answering, Max. With this, I would say that we're done. We're done. Can we just close the Atwix 5?